Welcome to the State of Events. This is the Mommypreneur series, and I have the most amazing friend. She's my new sister. I think we just need to say we're sisters. She's my new sister, Ms. Kimberly Stotzer.
There you go.
A virtual round of applause. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel actually really blessed to be here in this moment for so many reasons. It's a pleasure. So I'm excited about everything that you guys are bringing forward at the State of Events.
Oh, thank you. You know, this was actually, I can't take full credit for this particular series. My co-producer said we did this little Instagram live where I was just kind of sharing my story, talking about being a mom in business and owning my own business and all the things that come along, as you know, with running your own anything, whether it's running someone else's company or running your own company. And my co-producer said, I think this is a series. We need to go all the way with this. So it's a whole campaign we're doing on the State of Events. But what I'm doing is I'm highlighting women who are either an entrepreneur or who are in executive leadership. And so, of course, I had to reach out to Kim because, Kim, you are killing it at the executive level. And so can you just please tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes. Hello, friends of State of Events. My name's Kim. I am a mom, of course, Mommypreneur series. I have beautiful babies, 5 and 8. Nope, 9. One of them has turned 9. And you know, I am an executive. I'm executive vice president at New Community Investments. I've been with that family of companies for a while. I'm also a minister. I serve alongside my husband. We have a small community church as well. So, I stay busy.
You do stay busy. You do stay busy. Mom, pastor, executive, that is a lot of hats to wear. And just getting a little bit into your story on how motherhood came for you. Can you tell us a little bit about your mommyhood story?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I have precious babies. Like I said, 1 9, one soon turning 6. And I have a family that actually has a really strong legacy of adoption. And I married a husband whose father was actually adopted as well. So his family kind of had that built in as well. We always thought we would adopt. We didn't plan on when, but while we were working at a mission space in Kansas City, was a sweet baby who was rescued. And there's this little 9 or 10-year-old girl from Honduras who starts praying and speaking over. It's like, God gave me a vision and you're supposed to be this baby's forever family. And we're like, hello, little child who we've never met. And so obviously we took a moment to pray about that. And so we ended
out of the mouths of babes.
Oh my gosh, we ended up adopting my eldest son, Samuel, who's so special if you ever met him. And then a few years later, we found out that he had a younger brother, a biological brother, who had been taken into the foster care system in Missouri. And so it was a long journey. I actually have 2 big journey stories, a whole different podcast over how we went through the process of getting both of our sons. Just whole journey of faith there. So I definitely became a mom by choice. And, there's lots there. Every mom, every child is different and every mom is tired. That's what I like to say.
Love that. Writing that down.
So
awesome.
It's that whole journey. But we're thinking of one more. My husband would like to go for a girl. So
yes, all the way. I love it. Such a beautiful story, and I just I know that the adoption journey is met with its own challenges, not only from an emotional standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint. And so to know that you went through that, man, hats off, but also thank you for playing a part in the humanity journey for so many that need homes. So, and her boys are amazing. They're all at camp together. My boy and your boys. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
They are, and I'm such an advocate of adoption. Again, another thing, but I think there's so much compassion. And there are a lot of homes. People think you have to be like this super saint to adopt. Yeah, it can be rough because people have their own generational things that they're bringing to the table. But every child just deserves an actual family. And all love to the foster care. I like the idea of fostering someone and helping them along their way. But I think it's God's intention that we would have like a family. And
Mm,
spirit of adoption is all over the faith, like the Judeo-Christian faith. So I'm all about it. I won't get lost there though, but it is I would say as a mom, I experienced, needing to bond in a different way with my kids. Because I was not their birth mom. I chose to inform them of their adoption very young. It was
oh,
our
wow.
decision to make sure that they knew and could communicate that they were adopted and that that was special because, I just had so many stories of people feeling really betrayed by finding that out a lot later in life.
Yes.
And yet we decided to tell them about their birth family when they're both in their 20s. And so we've let them know when the youngest of
Mm,
you is at least 21, then we'll talk about it because there is some risk involved. I walked closely with birth mom for a while during the first season with my first son. And so, they need to be mature enough to handle whatever they find is my
yeah.
opinion on it. So I think there's another layer for an adoptive mom of
Mm,
feeling and of learning, of like prayerfully finding out things that you can't just look at the uncles and the grandparents and see like
right.
more or less what's going on. There's that whole nurture element, but there's a nature side that you don't know.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
we deal with things like
Wow.
ADHD, and I think that adds a layer to the mommy side of how do I help my kids navigate uh,
Yep.
things that maybe didn't run in my family, but this is where
Wow.
um,
You know, we hear so many stories of adults when they either find out that they were adopted or maybe they, did, one of those genealogical tests and they find out that, excuse me, that they are adopted. And I've heard both sides. I've heard, I was happy to not have known. And I didn't want to sort of interrupt the life that I had with this new information. And then you have the other side where it's like, wow, I wish I would have known that this is my background.
yeah.
And so the fact that you all chose to tell your boys so young in life is such an interesting story because, especially I feel like in metropolitan cities that people can frequently move to, no
Mm.
one ever wants to really run into I feel like LA and New York, like it's a 50-50 chance you're gonna run into somebody, you know, that you're either related to or And so the fact that you all did that is so interesting. I wanna ask too, just in terms of you in your position, working in these high level executive positions, what do you find is um sort of your not your lot, but like sort of what is your cross to bear, right? In your story of motherhood in terms of you also have an opportunity to hold a huge title, right? And steward all
Yeah.
that's a part of the business. So what is that like? Are there these times and these moments where it's like you're having to maybe decide, what the priority looks like? How do you structure what that importance is
Only constantly. What? Moments.
every day?
Every day, all the time. All the time. Yeah, I've had some big moments with that and some small. Because I actually started with leadership when I was younger, and
Mm,
because we were several years into our marriage when we had our first adoption, our first son. I had been in like director level roles with different organizations for a while. So before mommyhood came up, leadership was like a part of my life, and I built a conviction that I shouldn't stop, that I should figure out how to carry motherhood and continue with that. Now that's a value decision, that's a kind of a purpose calling decision. Like there's nothing wrong with deciding that this is the season I'm in and I'm going to stop and I'm going to be stay at home and do homeschooling and all of that. That's great. I even daydreamed about that quite a bit. But despite my conviction
Daydream
to
implies that you were like
I was
fantasizing. I'm like,
longing.
I
I
never
was
fantasize about homeschool.
longing.
Never.
And I lived in Kansas City, Missouri, because I was working at the International House of Prayer at on their mission space. My husband was a director there. I was marketing director there. It was just for one of those departments. So it was really a beautiful space, but also it was the Midwest, and people ate at home and they made casseroles, and everybody had kids and everybody had play dates and groups. And it was very like, people kept going, why don't you guys have any kids? We're coming from LA where people are going, why are you even married? And we moved to a place like Kansas City where they're going, why don't you have a bunch of children yet? So it was, it's different to see those values play out. But even though I was in a place that was really focused on that, I really felt conviction that I should not stop in leadership. However, I did. I pulled back for maybe a year and a half because my first child had RAD. And again, for parents that have dealt with like attachment disorder, it's a reactive attachment disorder. And he had a rarer case of it, where instead of forming no attachment, he formed frequent pseudo attachments. And so he needed to see less people for a while and to begin to understand what home was, because we were like his 8th home in the first 8 months of his life. And so he needed to kind of get a feeling for, this is mom and dad and this is home. And this is what's fixed, as opposed to the people that we were seeing all the time. Because I was taking him with me to different places. So yeah, I actually stepped away, just listening to the advice of like, social workers and things like that. And I gotta say, it was not for me. For me as a mom, I got kind of depressed. I loved having a cleaner house and making all my food from scratch. But at the end of the day, I really, for me and who I am, there was a lot missing when I wasn't pursuing doing more outside of the house and doing some other things. So I figured out what was right for me and had to get back into the workforce and really eventually back into management and executive roles.
That's such a critical thing, that I had to find what was right for me, right? That's a huge thing. And I think as moms, we have to understand that what works for one family doesn't work for the other. And I think that maybe, might be an obvious point, but sometimes we look at other family and say, well, how are they doing it that way? And I want to try it that way. And so you'll try it that way and it doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Or wow, this family really seems to have it. Now, there's nothing wrong. We should absolutely be in a position where we can add share resources, share tips,
Right.
share, these things of how we're getting it done. I mean, I'm all about like how to effectively meal plan, and I learned that from someone else. But don't feel defeated when you try to implement something that another family did and it doesn't work, because every family is different. So that's huge. I want to shift a bit into talking a little bit about what you do at the executive level. So can you tell us a little bit about new community investments and what you do there?
Yeah, right now I'm working with a really unique company. The parent company is New Economics for Women, and I actually was on their staff for years before this. But New Economics for Women is founded in the 80s. It's all about economic mobility and kind of the development of the mindset and how to navigate the systems and how to really, basically, if a woman and her family, and honestly they serve everyone, is interested in it, to really gain access to the resources that are needed, whether it's housing, education, financial literacy, financial coaching, homelessness prevention, all this stuff that they do. And now business development as well, small business services, to help people from low income communities to really just gain access to the information that they might not have had, and just gain services, support, resources, to really move them forward. So it's a cool organization. Like, to say that in a nutshell is to say, I mean, listen, there's like 1,800 units of affordable housing and a couple charter schools and community centers and all this stuff that they're doing. But I moved over to New Community Investments about a year and a half ago, which is one of the newer entities under New, and it is all about financing microloans for small businesses, soft seconds for mortgages, so some micro lending, and we've got some really creative capital access solutions for small business owners. And that's really the stuff that I've been focused on for, I'd say, the last year or so, is partnering with Kiva to create Kiva Los Angeles, which is a zero interest financing solution up to $15,000 for small businesses. And also another one, Impresario, which is something where the business only really drives the campaign, and they they get trained by experts who have a 90% success rate to pull in money through crowdfunding. So you're pulling on the community to help you fund the business. And it might be rewards based or something like that. But there are ways to get up, $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 for a business. And people think, well, I don't want to ask for money. But as a small business owner, that's what you do. You ask for money, right?
Yeah, these people own small businesses and they don't want to ask for money.
Yeah, I know. That's part of the whole
stop asking.
You can't have a business if you don't ask for money. Okay, you can ask the bank, you can ask your neighbor, you can ask a number of different people, and sourcing it from community members and letting them come together to pull the resource. There's nothing wrong with it, especially if you're bringing value. And again, people want what you are bringing. They buy into your story, they buy into you as a person, they buy into what your business is going to do for the community. It's really powerful, and it's a way for the community to empower the businesses that they want to see in their community. So that's kind of what I'm focused on right now, and just leading teams. I have a great team.
Developing economics for the entire city or state of California. Just a little small thing I do.
What else? No. No, it's great.
I love it.
Really,
I love it. This seems like a large undertaking in terms of there's a lot of management of people and their businesses, which managing your own business is one thing, managing someone else's is a whole other. And so as you do that, what are you finding are some of your biggest challenges as a mom and then taking on such a large leadership role?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, there's that constant pull, like you said, of what's going to be prioritized right now. I even had my 7-year-old say to me at one point, Mom, why do you love work more than us? Get out of here. And at that time, I was working on housing programs with the government. So it was literally people under the poverty line or people who were going to be homeless without an intervention. And you know what? For a 7-year-old, he's still, at the end of the day, it was still them or him. So
right.
It doesn't matter how important our work seems to be to us. We are the only mom they have. So there's always that tension of what boundaries do I need to create so that my kids are kept safe and they can feel my love, my attention, my affection. But yet also I'm making room so that I can actually fulfill my potential, because I personally would not be satisfied if all I did was help them fulfill their potential. Again, that's not right for me. I feel like I would feel like I was being irresponsible with some gifts that I had been given.
That's a powerful statement.
Amazing. Women executives will understand that. It seems like you have an extraordinary capacity, and you got to do something with it, and hopefully you can do some good with it. So I do find what has worked for me has been to just draw some really clear boundaries about when the end of the day is.
That's critical. When do you turn off?
When do you turn off? And it's not that there's never an exception, but something that happens every week shouldn't be called an exception. And I've been there, where it's like, oh no, I'm just working overtime, but I'm working overtime 2 or 3 days a week. That's not overtime. That's a schedule. Right. So hey, don't feel bad if that's you, because it was me for like so many years. And I have burned out on trying to be a great mom, trying to be a wife that's present and loving somehow, and not just
right.
Trying to be there for my team at work. And then what I realized is there's never an end to the to-do list at work. There's no such thing as finished. Even if every email in my inbox has been opened, which by the way probably hasn't happened for years, because I'd have to go back really far and open old ones to get that number down. But if all the recent emails are empty, if all my tasks are checked off, it is a moment of euphoria that is soon crashing to an end, because there's always more to do.
Good. There's always more. There will always be more.
But that's why we have a job. That's why we're there, because there's something to do. So I think for me, it was finding peace with that, knowing there's always more to do. And I can be a bit of a perfectionist. So maybe it doesn't have to be done just the way I wanted to see it done. Maybe good enough is good enough today, right? Maybe I can delegate and not look at that.
Say that again. Maybe good. Yes.
Seriously, sometimes good enough has to be good enough for today because my son needs my attention, or my husband, I said it was date night. Like sometimes I have to trust that team member who's not going to do it the way I was going to do it, or that contractor who's not going to do it exactly how I was going to do it, but they
Yes.
are actually going to meet the requirements. And I need to know that good enough sometimes is good enough. But that is, that exchange is always being made, and that's what we have to know as executives.
Mm,
When is it time that good enough is not good enough, and I'm going to work the weekend and I'm going to make it up to my kids? It's like we can get in, we're making promises there that we need to pay out later, right? But I feel like
yeah.
we're consistently doing that, and eventually I realized my boundaries are not as much for my CEO or my board or my staff or my husband or my mom or my kids. My boundaries are for me. They tell me when to say it's enough. They tell
Yeah.
me when to back off or draw the line. And so
That's so good.
I think it's kind of a
Y'all
process of,
better get these nuggets right here. I don't know if you're paying attention like you should. If you don't have the look, I got my pad and paper. I don't know where's the. For those of you listening on the podcast, and this is the Mommypreneur series, we are highlighting moms who are entrepreneurs in the marketplace, in high level executive positions, and really just hearing their stories about motherhood and work. And today we have the incomparable, the beautiful, the magnificent mom exec, Miss Kimberly Stotzer. Virtual round of applause for you. I want to ask a little bit because you hit on something that was so important. And you started to talk a little bit about this task list and that there, it can always be never ending. And I wonder if there are some women out there who are moms and who feel like they actually can't climb the equitable ladder of success, or maybe they, are wrestling with how to even do that. And so, if we were to take a look at maybe generations that have come before us, or um, the way that has been paved, what could you say are some views that you have about women in equitable positions trying to climb that ladder? Has it been easier for us? Is it more difficult? Maybe there might even be someone listening in which they feel like they have an opportunity on their plate right now, where it's going to take them into that next stratosphere. Maybe they've been trying from a career standpoint to get there. Maybe that's a point of success and a goal for them, but they're wrestling with this, like, how do I do it? Should I do it? How did that happen for you? And like, what are your views on getting more and more successful in the area of like maybe even promotion? What does that look like?
I think I have a really controversial views
Oh, yes.
about
Bring the
this
controversy, please.
topic. And I will say that we are absolutely standing on the shoulders of the women before us. And as a woman of color, I think I'm standing on the shoulders of just people of color before me as well. Um, I've seen both situations in my life. I've seen the situation where I was desirable because I was female and or of color, and they knew they needed diversity, especially on the education front. I've seen that. I have also experienced environments where I was assumed to be the lowest role possible. Whether my gender, maybe ethnicity, maybe age, whatever it was, I've definitely been assumed to be the intern, or on the church side, assumed to be the children's church teacher, as opposed to the founder, or as opposed to maybe the second in charge of a larger church, or a director. So, I think that it depends on your industry a lot today because there has been so much progress. There are still industries and fields where it's really male dominated. It's like 80% male or more in the leadership roles, not necessarily in the workforce, but in the leadership roles.
Is that still those numbers and statistics still that it's still at the 80%?
Well, it's like, for example, when you get into church leadership, most people who work
Okay.
at church are women, but 80% of the senior leaders are male.
Okay.
But when you get into places like Wall Street, the numbers
Mm.
are staggeringly in favor of males. And
Okay.
like, it's really by industry. But we do see amongst Fortune 500 leaders, company leaders, and Fortune 100 company leaders, it's just by and large nearly all male, right? However, I here's the controversy in that for me. I really caution women. I think men should look at that. I think men should look at if women are welcome in the boardroom, if women's opinions are honored, if women are speaking up in a room, are you listening? Because her voice is by nature harder to hear than a male's. And so if you both start yelling, it will be harder for her to overcome his volume, right? And I'm saying that's a real basic scientific fact.
Wow.
So if you are you intentionally empowering every teammate at the table kind of a thing? I think men can look at that. But for women, I really challenge women not to become overly fixated on the stats and assume that the numbers are the way they are because of prejudice. I think there's some industries and some networks that maybe do have some outdated sexist views, but by and large, a lot of the reasons why women are not promoted, why women are not leading Fortune 500 companies are not specifically misogynistic, meaning like I really don't trust women, but a lot of times we make choices. This is what's controversial. And I think it's true both and. Sometimes there's actual misogyny and an actual belief that women are too emotional, right? On the flip side, um, women who are in leadership do have to table their emotions and do have to be able to compartmentalize. But there's also a balance of family that women feel and are socially pressured to accommodate more than men. Meaning, if women are adaptive to a desire for motherhood and they leave the workforce multiple times, right? Because they want to be moms, they do very literally have less experience than a man who started at the same time because you left maybe multiple times. And
Yeah.
so it isn't necessarily that that woman is disliked if she doesn't get the promotion or being penalized just for being a woman, but she might literally not have participated in projects or initiatives that gave her male counterpart a valuable experience for which he's being selected. So I just encourage women to try to look at that a little bit more objectively too. I'm not saying not to choose to step away and have kids. I'm not saying that. But I think
Right.
I honor my values and my choices. And for me, if I'm stepping away from my son, I stepped away for a while from my oldest son, but I honor that choice, and any opportunity that I missed out on because I stepped away to do that is worth it to me
Yeah.
for the attachment I was able to build with him. And so I have to hold it that way. But I think if I were to say it's unfair that well, I was gone for a year and a half, but it's unfair that someone else, I don't think, I personally, I know it's controversial, that I could call it unfair if someone else got an opportunity that I didn't get because I stepped away. So I mean, I think that there are those factors that women should also be sure to make sure that it's actually a prejudice against women and not something that
Like
um
merit based or maybe
knowledge based,
right.
experience based. I noticed with a lot of fiery female entrepreneurs, some of them they just know their stuff, but some of them don't. They didn't go to business school. They're figuring out as they go along, and they're assuming that they're being spoken to in a certain way because they're women, but they're actually also being responded to in that way because they're not using industry standard language that indicates that they have the knowledge that someone else has. And I think that
Wow.
they may not have been told to cultivate banking relationships. So they haven't been walking into the bank, talking to their teller, having small talk, talking about their goals, and allowing a relationship to build. So when it was time to go try to get financing for their business or for their car, or for their house, a male with the same credit score, someone might roll the dice on them because they know him, because they've been talking to him there for the last 3 years, because they've seen him follow through on things that he said he was going to do in the past. So they roll the dice. Where you, as a woman, if you had not known that you should have been cultivating that relationship, You might think that it's only white men, but what I'm saying is sometimes there are actual behavioral differences that get us there beyond prejudice. So I just caution people,
Yeah.
moms,
But
women.
it's hard to keep that perspective, like what you're saying, though. It's so, and that's so critical, though. And I think also too, what I'm hearing is that I think we sometimes are hopeful, and I love that our one of our producers, Karen, has really just brilliantly thought of this series, because every woman that will be featured on this Mommypreneur, and actually let me flash that for a minute. The Mommypreneur series, for those of you listening to the podcast, thank you for joining. But we have women who are coming from all different walks of their mommy journey. We have, someone who's going to be on the show who's the mother of a newborn, and one who is, about to graduate all of her children out of the house and be an empty nester, and everyone in between. But I think one thing that's really interesting is that when I talk to my mom friends who are mothers of newborns, they kind of want a pin to be dropped when they from where they left. I left at this point, and when I come back, if my specific position is being held, well, then I take out the pin and I continue business as usual. But there are some things in kind of what you're saying that, like, you can't drop a pin in where you left off. Right. And then, I want to raise my children for 2 or 3 years and be at home with them and homeschool, or whatever that looks like for you. And then come back and have this expectation that I can just pick up the pin where I left off. It doesn't seem like it happens like that at the executive level. When you're an entrepreneur, there's definitely
you can pick it up. But you know what?
When
you're an entrepreneur, you can't. I'm going to even say that. When you're an entrepreneur, depends on how long you're out, because your clients, have they stopped hearing from you? Did your email list stop hearing from you? Did their numbers change? Did their emails change? Also, did the software,
did the demand change, the trend?
Did the trend change? Did the software evolve? Do you even know how to use the new software now? I mean, there's this process of learning. And I think if we can have an entrepreneurial spirit about coming back after stopping with our babies, if we choose to do that, and just say, hey, I'm here to learn and grow. I'm going to see what I missed out on, and get my head back in there. Because the whole point of being away is to have your head out of that game and totally into your kids, and totally really free yourself to commit yourself to that. So when you get back, I think if we just have a little humility, listen, somebody else is probably like, I hate this, what's being said, but I think, just a little humility about, hey, the software might have changed, the policies might have changed, some of the people have changed, the trends might have changed. And if I stepped away with 8 years experience, right? But the world kept going. It's 10 years later. I still have 8 years experience. I don't have 10 years experience.
That's a good point. When you show, look, you can't lie with the numbers. When you show the numbers, it always is like, oh yeah, that part.
It's like, but the reason I like to think about it this way is because I always think about what I can control. Right? I don't want to think about, I can't control somebody that's sexist or racist. You know what I mean? If somebody's got to pin up themselves, then, they got to go. I can choose to be somewhere else. I can choose to be where my skill set is valued. But I'm also not entitled to a successful business. I'm not entitled to a promotion. I got to show that I have the values and the work ethic and the skill set and the willingness to grow my skill set, the ever-growing skill set, to take that company where it needs to go, or to serve my customers as a business with the kind of service that they can't get anywhere else. And so I think we have to kind of keep some humility in business, because as soon as we feel like we're entitled to get in all the big contracts or all the big promotions, we start giving off a stinky scent, and people.
That's so good. I appreciate that. That's wisdom. It really is. It's not popular. It's not culture friendly, but it's wisdom. It really is. I think that as we look at where society has come in kind of like that follow-up question, like what, in looking back at generations before us, has it been easier for us? Have we been able to climb quicker and faster? And I honestly, if I'm honest, I think that yes, the way has been paved for us in many sense of the word. But I do think that there has been, in the past handful of years, I have noticed this sort of entitlement leadership, right? I'm leading this way because I feel entitled that the way's been paved for me. The social groups are on the soapbox, and I deserve to be here strictly on entitlement basis.
Right.
And we wouldn't want that done to us. So therefore, if you have the receipts, then show them. And if you don't have the receipts, then what else is the value there that we can go off of? Is it simply just from a point of entitlement? And I'm not okay with that, because I don't even, a lot of people look towards my company and brand just because they know our past in staffing, and they just automatically assume that, you should staff me for something because I need to and deserve to be there. And that's, I don't lead like that. I don't. And I'm not popular because of it. But I'm not looking for a popularity contest. I'm looking to push someone towards their purpose. And that's not going to come because they're popular or I am either. So I thank you for that. Thank you for going off the cuff. Look, y'all know who have been following the State of Events. Y'all know that we talk about everything here, and there are opinions you're going to agree with and ones you're not. So that's the beauty of the show. I want to transition a little bit into talking about the juxtaposed, being in the home versus being out of the home. But as we move into that, I want to close this portion and ask if you have any wisdom for maybe someone who is starting their own business, someone who does have an opportunity in front of them to be in an executive position. What are some of those wisdom nuggets, those really quick, like one-liners that we can give to some of those moms who might be seeking the same journey?
A lot of people say, if you want to succeed, hype yourself up, tell yourself you're the best. I say, tell yourself you're like everyone else and learn what you need to learn. And do what you need to do to show that you have the skills you really have. At the end of the day, your receipts or your record should speak for you, as opposed to you having to hype yourself up at all. You can be promotable if you bring value, if you do the right thing when no one's looking, if you insist on having a good attitude, avoid office gossip, and come with the outcomes that people are looking for you to provide. You may get looked over for a promotion here or there, but as long as you make sure the company you work for has a generally healthy culture overall and good leadership, and you do what you should be doing, you'll be lined up for promotion. Otherwise, look for mentors within that company and ask them what you could do to line yourself up for promotion. They can usually give you an inside track. If you're thinking about starting your own business, it's going to take all your ovaries to stay in there.
Wait, I gotta write it down.
It is. Look, we're talking to mommypreneurs, so we're not talking about balls. We're saying ovaries. It's gonna take all your ovaries to stay in there. When the roller coaster starts moving, some days you will be elated, other days frustrated. The first thing you need to master is yourself, your self-talk, your self-discipline, how you manage your time, your boundaries. Those are the things you need to take care of first. And I would start with basic boundaries. Are your basic needs met? Have you made a plan for your self-care? And do you have a clear understanding of how you're going to organize your approach to your work? Then whatever it is that you're going to build, hey, some of it you're going to fail at. Just be okay with failing. There's another thing. If you like to be a successful
That's a good one. Yes.
Right? Get good with failing. Failing is just another way to learn something. If you have a growth mindset, it's okay for you to fail and learn that way. You're going to be fine. You're going to be totally fine. Again, I'm big on humility. So learn what you need to know. Instead of just showing up in the room and insisting that you're the best because you said so. No, eventually you're going to need to know the things you need to know. The best, by the way, imposter syndrome. Entrepreneurs are huge on imposter syndrome, especially women entrepreneurs.
I'm giving everybody a moment to write that down. Ooh, that is so good, Kim.
Right. And then at the end of the day, nobody really knows exactly what to do. All we can do is learn.
Oh, yes.
Learn as much as we can, but we still.
I'm willing to. My mom had a good saying growing up, and I think it's she was a Latina early in the airline industry as a flight attendant.
Mm.
And so I know that a lot of what she taught me came from that perspective, but she was very, and this was before it was cool. Cause now I kind of feel like it's cool to be like, you know what? I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. Back then it was not cool to do that, but she taught me early on, I don't know how to do that, but I am willing to learn and I'm willing to work hard to develop the skill to know what you need me to know. And I'm like, oh my God. And I grew up with this in my head, but there was a time when it wasn't popular. And I feel like now, that has come back around, but that was always a motto that she, you know what, I don't know that, but I'm willing to learn that. And I'm willing to do the work to learn it and become competent at it. So
You're
thank
right.
you for bringing that. You bringing it all the way back. Okay. Fun part. Not that this hasn't been fun, but it's definitely been like I'm in a masterclass. By the way, hashtag we need to do a masterclass. Hashtag masterclass. I want to get to these fun mommy questions because we all are dying to know. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Question number 1. What is your favorite thing to do during mommy alone time or mommy's night out?
I love to get some food or a drink with a friend. A concert.
I went to a concert. Remember, I went to a concert on Friday with the Boys to Men and TLC.
Oh,
yes, girl.
LC.
Baby. I was gigging. It was gigging. Okay. Next question. Let's keep it serious here. Okay, you ready? Here's the next question.
Yeah.
Next question is, okay, this is intellectual, but what is one trait about yourself that you are seeing in your children? Good or bad?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Just honest moment. There's a battle when I've been noticing that I grew up with this whole background, won't get into the story, but basically I grew up where you don't ask for help. It's resilience. You do everything yourself. You just load all the loads of the world on your back and you walk, And so I noticed that my kids have a hard time asking for help. Like if they're trapped in the shirt, they're like, no, I can do it, And my husband is really big on asking for help, which I've never understood until maybe the past year or maybe right now. But I'm seeing it in my kids. I'm seeing it in my kids. Little baby kid pride thing. Like, no, I can do it. I'm fine. I got it. I'm strong. I'm independent. I can do it, almost as if it were somehow like a total failure to need help. And I think I have to get it first and then just model it. Because it's like wanting my kids to clean my room. If my room is messy, I can forget their room pretty much. I mean, I'm just talking, But when I say I want your room to be at least as clean as mine is right now. What? That clean? Yes. Thank God I can say that sometimes.
I know, right?
But I get a totally different response from my 5-year-old when I can give that exact example. And I think that seeing me try to hold the whole world on my shoulders for many of the years of their life has given them the wrong impression that they should be able to carry the world on their shoulder and that it's weakness to ask for help when it's actually wisdom to know when to ask for help so that you don't burn out.
That's
so that
good.
you can give your energy where it should be given in the most profitable places. So. Yeah.
Wow.
That's not great.
The things
but it's
that
true.
our children teach us, the things that we learn from them. Wow. Kim, this has been such a good so let me share mine. Lincoln definitely shares my strong will. And I asked a lot of questions growing up, which is a great strength when it's honed. Because it seems like it's at sometimes just defiant. Like I just don't want to do that, so I'm going to keep asking why I have to do it. But he and again, that strong will is going to, he's high justice as well, so that strong will is going to serve him well when it's honed. But right now, it just seems like orneriness and like, no, you're really just exerting your defiancy right now. We're not doing that.
Yeah, I get a lot of that too. I get a lot of that strong will. Like, oh, I blame their father. No, I'm kidding. I mean, yeah, we've cultivated some really communicative boys, some independent thinkers, critical thinkers.
Yeah.
And so I try to tell myself this is going to be good one day when he's an adult, if I don't kill him first. And this is the balance, right?
It is. No, that's good. So good. Kim, you've been such an amazing friend guest. It's so much fun. Tell our friends and our listeners, how can they get in touch with you? How can even you, but by way of you, how can they get in contact with New Economics for Women and new community investments? How can they access some of that funding, capital, resources, all that good stuff?
Man, I would say just come straight to me. I notice a lot of people use Instagram instead of business cards these days, right? I'm gonna roll with that. On Instagram, you can find me at Kim Stotzer, KIMSTOTZ, like zebra ER. And I think that's like a really easy way. Like, direct message me at Kim Stotzer on Instagram. You can also check out our website, neweconomicsforwomen.org or new-nci.com to just kind of see what it is that we're doing. We have more websites than that, but I don't want to overwhelm you. There's a lot you can access, but if you go through the website, although you can see some things, you're gonna definitely not maybe be able to get directly to someone. If you hit me on Instagram, I'll try to refer you directly to the person that you need to talk to. You can also email me at kstotzer@neworg.us. That's KSTOTZER@NEWORG.US. You can email me there. And again, I'll try to do my best to get you connected to the right person for whatever you need. If it's housing stability, financial coaching, business capital access, or just business development, like I need to develop a business plan, I need to register it, I don't know what to do. We have people that do all that stuff. So feel free to hit me up and I'll try to get you connected.
Thank you again. Kiss your family for us. We love you all so much. And thank you for your time and all that you're doing to empower mommypreneurs.